Hey, I'm ALBO, and I love JDM cars and culture. In each episode in this multi-channel crossover series, I'll go on car adventures around Japan with Captain Bradford from JDM Masters, along with our car club and fellow YouTubers Japonic, Samit, Dustin Williams, and others. Join us as we do car stuff, explore Japanese culture, and show you what it's really like in the land of the rising sun. This is our JDM life, and we are the Super JDM Bros.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りしました。
Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of Super JDM Bros, the show where I show you Japanese car culture through my own eyes. In this episode, we're going to be installing the new Forester STI headlight, which I picked up from Yahoo Auctions. Then we're going to go pick up my car, which has just had the soft top done. And on the way there, we'll get to the main point of this video, which is that Cap and I are going to have a discussion about whether we think it's still worth it to buy a Japanese sports car from the 90s and early 2000s. So this episode is brought to you by thehunters.com, where you can pick up merch. And today I want to talk about these fleece pullovers, which have now actually become the most popular item on my store. What I really love is not just how warm it is, but how good it looks, especially with this really cool detailed embroidery of the Hunters logo. And the hoodies are really popular as well. So I'll put a link to the description box, but make sure to check it out right here. Once again, thank you guys so much for picking up merch, because really it's a combination of merch and Patreon and YouTube, which is gonna enable me to go full-time with YouTube next year, so I can go all out on producing this kind of content for you guys on a really regular basis, maybe every other day or so. Let's just jump right to the video, and at the end we'll jump back for some closing thoughts, and so I'll see you guys in a bit. So some time ago, I'm not exactly sure when, but this light went out, and I tried replacing this HID bulb, but that didn't work, so I found one on the Yahoo Auctions, ordered it, and it came in today. And so we're gonna be replacing this with this one. So hopefully it works. All right, we got her off. Nice, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Whew. All right, let's move it out of the way just a little bit. Let's see what it looks like. Oh.
It's just foam.
Okay. We got it. All right.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice. It's got one eye now. I should just drive home like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
No cuts.
So now we're about to find out if this works. So these are the high beams?
Yeah, high beams.
Oh, there.
Ah, it works,
Yeah,
dude.
it works.
Look at that happy dance.
Oh,
So the victory dance.
It would have sucked so bad.
Dude, that $300 works, buddy. Dude. Oh, this is perfect.
Oh, that's great. All right, we can go home. All right, just leave it.
Hold up, yeah.
Just got this in the mail. Finally found this on Medicuddy, which is kind of like the Japanese eBay. Nice. The quality is really good. It looks just like my car. AP1, yellow, like that. And it actually goes. All right, so now we have this one, and we also have a perfect condition Tomica over here. Look at that, that's great. So in today's video, I'm gonna be picking up the S2000 and installing a couple things. Gonna install the newer car seat, and also this just came in the mail, so let's take a quick look at this. Okay, here we go, yellow box, speedo recalibrator. So check these guys out. And basically, this is it. And the reason I need this is because after installing the AP2 transmission, it changes the gearing ratios, which will throw the speedometer off by like 5 or 7% or something. So this should fix that. Okay, so we're gonna install it later on. First, we are going to go to the gym, and then we're gonna meet up with Captain later, and then we're gonna head over to HMR, which is the shop that I bought the S2000 at, and they're doing the soft top. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up the S2000 now. What up?
What up, what up, what up,
What up?
what up?
On this episode of JDM Bros, we're gonna pick up my new S2000.
In our little group chat, we have been talking about, like, is it worth it to drive basically an old JDM car?
Okay, that's the discussion here is not about performance at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about performance. It's just you have normal cars have a depreciation.
Yeah.
After a certain amount of years.
I think the reason the value goes up is partially hype and partially intrinsic value. The hype value is kind of like people say like the initial D tax, right?
Yeah.
Because something is popular, it goes up in value, right? But then you have to think about like the reason it's valuable is partially because it has intrinsic value, and part of that value is that particular car, it does offer something beyond the hype, which is a certain type of driving experience which is not available anymore.
Or at least you hope so, which a lot of people are actually disappointed when they actually get in a normal Skyline GTR 32.
Right, but like that's like just talking about the performance of it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is something like, you know, like the way the shifting feels, right? And even just like the aesthetic of like the dash and how everything's laid out. It's like appreciating like an old watch, like an old analog automatic watch. Right. You appreciate it for its history, and maybe it means something to you. Maybe like, for example, I love this particular watch. This is like an heirloom, like from my dad. So if things have that personal connection to you, it becomes much more subjective, right? Like the value that it has becomes harder to quantify.
Well, by the way, expensive watches are one of the things that, when sold new, are severely overpriced already. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Cars aren't, but then they gain value as a modern classic. There are a lot of JDM cars, if we're just specifically talking about JDM classic, neo-classic cars, that have this sort of heritage or engineering or purpose, but some of them are really low price. For example, this very CL1 Euro R Tonio Accord,
which you just did a review of.
It's a little bit underappreciated for what it is, just because it doesn't have that Type R badge. But let's go back to the GTR. A couple of years ago, when prices of average cars reached the value when it was new, it was kind of at the user value limit. And now it's just gone sky high, and I think American fans and customers are waiting for this car to be imported into America. Not only that, Middle East collectors, Southeast Asian collectors, especially Hong Kong collectors, who a whole lot of them who have pristine collection, one-to-one scale model types. And I think these are the market forces that are also forcing prices up.
So I think absolutely. So you have those players who actually, they skew the market and they actually push the prices up.
It's like property prices, right?
Exactly, like property prices. You see the same phenomenon like in the West Coast, like in Canada, Vancouver, where, you know, rich Asian folks are buying up all of the land, and like it's kind of pricing out the locals. And that's just kind of like what happens with internationalization, kind of like the unfortunate side effect, right?
And it just puts enthusiasts
Evo 7
out of the ability to buy and enjoy these.
And like that is like the crux of the issue, I think. Over time, the price of like these cars that we would have loved to enjoy just keeps going up. But I think at the end of the day, there are still going to be some examples of the cars which are kind of like within reach, but are kind of like just past the technically worth it level. So then it becomes a matter of, is it worth it for you?
So let's concentrate on cars that are still within reach.
The way I look at it, like a car anywhere from like $5,000 to $25,000, it's within reach of the average person. But then it's like, well, do you want to pay for that much for a car which has like 150,000 kilometers, 200,000 kilometers? I would say still yes, because it's not about the mileage or like the condition of that car. It's like you just want to drive that particular car. So it's more about the ownership experience.
Yes.
So in that sense, like it becomes worth it because you're not thinking about it from the perspective of like a normal car.
But I think also, depending on where you're from and your age group, especially if you've experienced or never experienced the car before, are you completely sold on hype, or is it knowledge, or is it nostalgia? Then it takes different forms. I think
it's always like a mix of all these factors, right? Because like part of the reason that we come to become fans of these cars is because they're popular. An example, TE37 like wheels, always popular, or CE28s, right? Honestly, like part of the reason that most people like things that they like is because other people like them. There's kind of like this like social validation that happens. Your peers think it's cool, so you accept that it's cool, so you want it. It's just part of human nature, I think.
What I'm talking about today is whether it's a financially viable decision for someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of financial means, but you know, really wants this, for example, 90's JDM car, saves up and, you know, pays this money, especially if they're maybe a bit younger or expects to buy this car in a couple of years or something, has never tried it before, buys into the hype, and for whatever reason and then finds that they get severely disappointed, which has happened a lot actually. You cannot expect to buy a used car which is over 20 years old and think that you don't have to replace anything. I mean, look at what we've been through.
I mean, I think that's kind of to be expected. I think people kind of know what they're getting into. When you buy a car with like 130, 140, 150,000 kilometers, obviously a lot of stuff is going to need to be replaced. Obviously, it might have like a worse history than you initially expect.
Yeah.
That's kind of like part and parcel with the experience.
Oh, wow.
See, that's the point, right? It's like,
oh, it's cool. I know.
Right, yeah. That's exactly it, right?
But so I will not buy another GCA.
I might.
There's certain things that I personally don't want to deal with, but some other people might be okay with it. It's just like, I don't want to buy rotary engines anymore. I just don't want to deal with the hassle of the engine breaking down and, you know, so, but other people are, no, Captain, rotary's the best thing in the world. They believe in it, you know, they just get sucked into just spending all this money on something that has value only for them, their parents, their sisters, brothers, or their wife even. Kids might think crazy, you know.
I kind of see where you're going with that. I'm not sure I agree, because I feel like we buy these cars because they have like a certain sentimental value to us, right? And that's kind of like all the value that you need.
So I
mean, they do hold intrinsic value because they are actually going up with price.
Yeah, but the difference is, I can understand if you're, you know, an older guy like me who have idolized and, you know, seen these cars new in the 90s. I've experienced a couple of them, and then years later I feel it's nostalgia. I want it. It has much more real nostalgic value than someone who's never experienced these cars, not from their time age.
They kind of have, because they built it up in their heads for so long.
Yeah, but it's not realistic. It's not a realistic image.
It is based on a reality, right? At least partially.
A reality that they've only gained from the internet, so to speak. Yeah, but so it's not. You know, I've met a lot of young guys who buy old A86s because they buy into this whole initial A86 tax, and then later only to complain that, oh, it's flimsy, it's not very convenient, the interior is like this. But what do you expect?
Well, for example, for me, right? I mean, like, I wanted an S2000 for so long. I've wanted it since like Gran Turismo. Finally got it. I love it.
Oh, you're not that young, so it's okay. You're not that old either. It's still kind of within your, you know, your time zone, because.
But I mean, like, I never owned it.
You never owned it
when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
I just kind of like, I just had this idea of it. I really like wanted it, I idolized it, and it did turn out to, it lived up to my expectation of it. Of course, some other cars won't be like that. Like,
yeah. That's the thing. Like, some cars are going to live up to some people's expectations.
Yeah, and also you gotta think like stock, right? So for example, like my experience with the R34 GTR, like the completely stock one, I was like kind of underwhelmed.
Yeah.
But then once you drive one that's been heavily tuned, like if you have the means, you're gonna throw like a ton of money at it, it can become like a monster of a car. And then you're like, wow, this is what I imagined it would be like. It's kind of like you're fulfilling that childhood dream, and there's really something to be said about that.
I think, personally, having owned over 30 cars, I think life is about balance. There are ways to enjoy cars without breaking the bank.
I think so, and I think the first part is having a budget and having a solid idea of like how much it's actually going to cost you.
Yes.
And then you have to make that kind of decision for yourself. You're like, you know, I could get a much newer car.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just Uber everywhere. I could have like no car. I could have a bicycle, right?
The key is
like,
making an informed
decision. Yeah, you make an informed decision, and then you decide for yourself. It's like, are you willing to make some of those sacrifices and some of those like these considerations?
That's the point, isn't it?
Especially if you have like a family, and especially if you have to consider like maybe what your girlfriend or what your wife would think. Not that I think you should let them influence your decision, but you know, realistically speaking, it is something that will be a factor in like your ownership of the car. Especially if you're spending like, let's say you're gonna spend like $40,000 on like a 20-year-old car.
Yeah.
Right? And then
yes, this is exactly the point. If the 20-year-old car was within reasonable budget, it wouldn't hurt so much.
Well, my thinking is like, let's say it's gonna cost you like, okay, let's say $30,000, because that's the average price of a new car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you buy a brand new car, it's gonna go down in value. So when you sell it, you'll have lost money.
Yes.
The opposite is not necessarily true. Like if I was to buy a good condition S2000 with say like 60,000 kilometers, by the time I sold it, I probably could break even.
That is true. That is true.
So in a sense, like then the other consideration is like you're concerned about what other people might think about, like, why are you driving like this old car? Number one, who cares what they think, in my opinion. But also I think you just drive what you want to drive first, and later you can make the decision later.
I agree about not caring about what other people think. It's more about some people go beyond their financial capabilities without considering other factors. Okay, so it's like this. For example, let's say you're a fresh graduate, 22, 23 years old, and you dream of owning a R34 GTR, which I think a lot of people out there do.
And you realize it's too expensive, so you buy a 33.
But then, you know, some people actually stretch and break the bank and take big, massive loans, or somehow or other, and try to get this expensive dream, you know? And it actually may damage them.
There's a meme here. It's like, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. Ooh, see, this is what I mean. We see all these nice cars. We don't even care about any of them. We just care about these JDM classics.
Because we're JDM otaku weebs, mate.
We are the JDM bros. We are the super JDM bros. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, part of the appeal is living in Japan, where we can drive these cars in their natural habitats.
That's the reason why I moved to Japan.
Right.
Part of it is because I don't want to import. I didn't want to import one back home and drive it there out of its natural habitat.
Right.
Personally, I just feel bad about taking it away from the home country. You know, it gets recycled here and whatever. I can enjoy many other cars.
I don't feel that bad because I feel like most people don't have the means or the circumstance to be able to live here and do this. So we're just lucky.
Yeah, in that way. So it's like, you know, just determination and inspiration to come here. But then that's different. I mean, some people will probably decide that it's not for them to travel. And yeah, it's okay, you know. My advice to younger people is just to be reasonable, do your research properly, and then make the best financial decision that you can according to what you have right now.
I guess what I would say to that is it's okay to own like a old Japanese car, like a JDM car, and like you were saying, understand how much it's actually going to cost, and then factor that into your decision, and really think about like why you want.
Exactly. Don't just go on completely on hype.
Yep. And aside from that,
that's the purpose why we're making these videos.
Yeah.
To give people a more informed decision.
Yep.
You're taking it from the lifestyle perspective, I'm taking it from the real car perspective. You know.
Yeah.
So people can.
Hopefully, people get some
real knowledge.
Yes, real knowledge and actual actionable advice. And let us know what you think of this format where we literally just talked for 20 minutes in one clip, and hope it was fun to listen to us talk while we go on this drive.
Life advice.
Yeah, let us know. And in the next video, we're gonna pick up my S2000, and I'm super excited because it got a new soft top. I'm gonna maybe install the new seat today as well.
He spent so much money on this car,
man. Yeah.
But he's happy. See, that's the thing.
See, I'm so happy.
Yeah, you're happy, right? I changed spark plugs. I'm happy because the response is better.
Right.
Yeah.
You
know.
So enjoy car life, guys, and we will catch you in the next video. Peace. Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Captain Bradford. And again, let me know if you like this kind of format where we just talk about the things that are on our mind. If you want to follow my adventures on Instagram, make sure to send me a friend request. My Instagram is actually set to private, so I can screen it and make sure that, you know, popos aren't watching me or anything. And so anyways, just send me a friend request and I'll make sure to accept you. And you'll see a lot of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't show up on the channel or shows up way before I upload stuff on the channel. Alright, before I let you guys go to the next video, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to my patrons who are really making it possible to continue making this series better and better with every video. So let me know if you enjoyed the video, drop a bananas in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, peace.
Watch him speed into the night, go zooming out of side trip.